moments in palliative care. One of them, Keith Potger, joins us on the program today. Keith, a very good morning to you.
And good morning to you, Liam, and to your listeners. It's lovely to talk to you again.
It's great to talk to you too, Keith. I'm sorry about the circumstances and commiserations.
Yeah, well, there you go, and thank you very much for that. We've been getting fantastic love from all over the world on this at this sad time, but we're reflecting now on happier things actually, because Judith died on Friday, and now we're kind of on the trajectory upwards to recollect the happier times.
Which is a great thing to do, and it was a marvellous thing that you and Athol and Bruce were able to do for her too, Keith. That was terrific.
Well, yes, it was. I mean, the whole thing just was a wonderful way to I don't know if this is the right word, but to conclude our connection with that lovely person, and who was in many ways our adopted sister.
Yeah, well, it was all on the phone, was it? You weren't able to.
Yes. Yes, it was on the phone because Judith had been taken into hospital on last Thursday, and on Friday. I live in New South Wales now, and so I was geographically distant from the others. But Friday afternoon, I spoke to Judith's sister, Beverly Sheehan, and Beverly she was at the hospital and was able to take a phone across to Judith, and we had those final words, and I was hoping that they weren't going to be the final words, because I was hoping to travel from my home to Melbourne before she died, to be a bit closer to her physically. But anyway, it wasn't to be. But at least we had that wonderful conversation, and as did Bruce and Athol separately via Beverly's phone. And it must have been incredibly stressful for Judith to undergo those conversations. But she was absolutely as bright as could be, and trying her best, and rallying to make sure that we were able to have a two-way conversation.
That's marvellous. I know it was very difficult for her in those final days, weeks, to talk because of the lung problem, but you were able to have a conversation. Yes. That's fantastic, Keith.
Yes, it was, and something I'll remember forever.
Yeah, there's been so many beautiful things said about her in the past, day or so. Well, what was she like to work with and be around?
Well, she was wonderful to work with. She was very accurate in her thoughts. We always discussed songs and business matters and things like that, and she would often be able to pinpoint things that we might have missed. She was very giving. Very, very loyal. She was a team player. Let's put it that way. I mean, I think we all were. We all realised that the Seekers had very quickly become a family, and we respected that.
There's been a lot written about how it all started, Keith. How you all met, and the line that I keep hearing and reading about is that she had an office job with Athol Guy, and then the invitation came to sort of play together when you all got together at a coffee shop. Is that right?
It is, and it happened in the blink of an eye, actually, because Judith became an executive assistant at the advertising agency that Athol was an account director at. This was on a Monday the 3rd of December, it actually was, and Athol said to her, "Look, we've heard about you. Why don't you come along to the Treble Clef in South Yarra and have a bit of a sing with Bruce Woodley and Keith Potger and me, and we'll see what you think." And the poor girl said yes. So it was as quick as that. And then that evening, Bruce picked her up from her home in Baldwin, and Athol and I were already at the Treble Clef. She walked in with Bruce, and Athol said, "Keith, this is Judith. Judith, this is Keith." And we sat down and started playing, and it was just as though we'd been together for years.
On stage, musically, what was she like?
Oh, impeccable. She was impeccable. Couldn't put a note wrong. I mean, it's just quite extraordinary how accurate she was throughout her career in recording sessions as well. She was very hard on herself in terms of being pretty her own performances, and but yeah, just an absolute perfectionist, and that was only to be borne out by the perfection of
When
her
the
voice.
news broke of Judith Durham's passing on Friday, the nation went into the mourning. The whole world went into the mourning. The much-loved singer of the Seekers has been remembered as having the voice of an angel and pioneering Australia's influence on the music world. The group of four became the first Australian band to achieve major charts and sales, actually together with success in the United Kingdom and the United States, eventually selling 50 million record copies. Durham embarked on a solo career later on in the 1968, actually recording with the Seekers again in the 1990s, and after her passing, her bandmates Keith Potger, Bruce Woodley, and Ethel Gray said their lives had been changed forever by losing their treasured, lifelong friend and the shining star. And never complaining of her destiny and fully accepting its conclusion, her magnificent musical legacy was really treasured, and Keith came out and actually shared very emotional and heartbreaking tributes, and the same as Bruce, and they said they were so blessed to share the same stage with the one and only Judith Durham. Actually, Durham's sister Beverly Sheehan also spoke of the siblings' shared love of music, the shared values, and the joy for her life, the constant optimism, creativity, generosity of spirit were always an inspiration to not only Judith but to everyone who was really close to her. So Durham's death actually in a palliative care came after a brief stay in the Melbourne's Alfred Hospital, and it was a result of complications from chronic lung issues. And the Universal Music of Australia and the Music Coast said on Saturday after her passing on, via a very heartbreaking and emotional statement, that they had been really devastated after the loss of such a huge popular figure. So many tributes still came out, including the Prime Minister Anthony hailing Durham as a national treasure and an Australian icon. Actually, in his own words, he said, Judith gave a voice to a new stand of our identity and helped blaze a trail for a new generation of Aussie artists. That was the statement that was released by the Prime Minister, Mr. Albanese, via his official Twitter page. Later on, so many tributes still came in. Kelly and so many others also paid their tributes, and later funds for the state funeral were announced, and actually the government is taking over the funeral service that's going to be held in the next coming few days or few weeks, as communication will be held.